A bipartisan group of senators have apparently failed to agree right now on a rough new sanctions package to try to deter a Russian invasion of Ukraine. Two major sticking points: whether to impose sanctions in advance of an invasion or wait until Russia crosses into Ukraine, and how to address the proposed gas pipeline between Russia and Germany, which is already built, the Nord Stream 2 project. Joining me now is the chairman of the Foreign Relations Committee, Senator Bob Menendez of New Jersey. Senator, thank you very much. Let's talk right there about, excuse me, with losing my voice, weakening Vladimir Putin's hands. And weakening the administration's hand, because the administration has been calling for deterrence and not putting the sanctions on before Putin makes a move, because then he could say, well, I'm already being sanctioned. Why shouldn't I go ahead?
Well, Andrea, first of all, thanks for having me on. Look, we have been working assiduously for the last 2 weeks to come to a common position, which I think is important for Russia and the world to understand that the Congress stands with the president, united in our support of Ukraine, its territorial sovereignty, and united to have real consequences for Putin and Russia should he make the enormous mistake of invading. And we've come a long way. We just haven't been able to finalize on some key issues, even though we've gone a long way in trying to achieve it. But I think that what we should recognize here is that there is common ground in extracting a big price for Russia if it makes the mistake of invading Ukraine. There is common ground and a strong support for Ukraine. And so the question is exactly how does one create that consequence for Russia? And so there are some differences of opinion, but there are some sanctions which we have offered that would take place for actions that Russia has already taken, like cyber attacks, false flag operations, destabilizing the Ukrainian government. There are the mother of all sanctions legislation that I started off this negotiation with, which I wrote, for the consequences if Russia invades. There's assistance to Ukraine in terms of legal assistance to defend itself. There's financial assistance. So this is a comprehensive package, but we're just quite not there. But I hope we can get there. And if we cannot get there in the next day or so, at least I hope we will pass a resolution that will express that solidarity in the Senate before the recess.
And once you recess, of course, the House is out already for 2 weeks, so nothing can be passed and sent to the president, but you're sending signals as well. What do you think that Vladimir Putin is doing by saying now, we want to talk, let's talk about arms control? He's had that proposal for 2 weeks or more, and saying that it was his non-starter. He still does not seem to be yielding on his demands that NATO pull back and that Ukraine be limited from ever joining NATO down the road.
Well, I think the little session he had with his foreign minister Lavrov the other day was kabuki theater. He never does anything in public. And he wanted to get the international community and the press to bite on the proposition that, in fact, he is open to diplomacy and negotiations. And I hope that the intense diplomacy that has been taking place between the United States and our allies and the threat of overwhelming sanctions that would have crippling effects on the Russian economy and on Putin himself would ultimately lead and may ultimately lead to some type of diplomatic initiative. But it's hard to understand that you're serious about diplomacy when you have so many troops amassed along Ukraine's borders, where there are some reports, unverified, that as we speak, there are some cyber attacks taking place against the Ukrainian banks and Ministry of Defense, where Russia's lower house in its parliament has passed a resolution recognizing elements of eastern Ukraine that they would like to see break away, and ultimately would give Russia the ability to provide security guarantees to that region. So these are all things that belie, the actions belie the words that you're truly willing to be engaged in a diplomatic effort.
The U.S. is warning that Russia could launch a false flag operation as a pretext to war, probably in the East, in fact. Are we prepared to deal with misinformation and gray zone tactics that Putin likes to use? He's used those in the past.
Well, I've got to give enormous credit to the Biden administration using its intelligence and being able to declassify it in a way that has outed the Russians in each of these false flag attempts. And so actually, we have, I think, up to this point, outflanked them in terms of having any pretext of an excuse. There is no excuse here. There is no aggression by Ukraine. They have done nothing to solicit the consequences that Putin has amassed along their frontier and the threat that they offer. You see Russian television talking about some type of mass genocide in Ukraine, falsely, of course. So it is constantly trying to create the set of circumstances in which it can have the alleged provocation, but there is no such thing. The world will see it. If Putin crosses into Ukraine's territory, it will be his aggression. And the one thing that no matter what happens, whether there's diplomacy or whether there's an invasion, that Putin will have learned is that the West is more unified than ever before. The transatlantic alliance is more unified. NATO is stronger. There are thousands of troops put into part of Eastern Europe that Putin would have never wanted to see. So far, that calculus has worked badly for him.
It's so good to have you with us. Thank you very much. The chairman of the Foreign Relations Committee, Senator Bob Menendez. Thanks very much.